All right, so thank you very much, everybody, for being on board. Today is a presentation from EnGenius Canada. I'll pass the whole shebang, the whole presentation back to Guinness, the engineer within the Toronto office. So Guinness, this is your show. It's all yours.
Okay, yeah, thank you, Alan. Yeah, first of all, thank you for coming to our presentation. My name is Guinness. I'm the technician of the EnGenius Canada, located in the Toronto, Ontario area. Today, I'm going to talk about the basically the two product lines of the EnGenius, together with some basic terminologies in terms of the Wi-Fi applications. As you see on the screen, oh, by the way, the whole section will last for about 40 minutes, and it will be breaking down into three parts. Each part will be about 10 minutes, maybe 12 minutes maximum, and leave the end. We have the question and answer for 5 minutes, 10 minutes, depends on how the presentation runs. Okay, let's start. The first portions of the presentation is talk about the basic terminologies. As you can see on the screen, you know, in the wireless environment, we have a number of the components in the network. These are the most basic and most common that we use on a daily basis. Okay, the first operation mode we can see here is a diagram showing the unit is configured as a client bridge mode. We use the ECB350 as an example, which is the one of the product, the product in the indoor applications, and the other end is the connected to the internet where the router or server is located, and then it is set up as an access point. So what the client bridge does is to capture the signal from the access point and then relay the signal to the computer. It works like your USB dongle, basically, but of course it's much more powerful and have the longer range in compared to the USB adapter. And then we come to the client router mode. Client router mode works like a client bridge, except that it generate the DHCP address to each of the clients connected to the box. So in other words, it's a built-in the DHCP server, but it's still not a full-fledged router. It doesn't have the firewall or any advanced routing capability. It's just the basic. We call it the client router. The most application is the you know, in the remote area, the people use the wireless to provide the internet service. They usually build a tower of you know, 70 feet or 100 feet high, and to cover the whole town. And then each of the clients just set up the box in client router mode instead of buying a full-blown routers. So access point mode is most common nowadays in the market. Yeah, most of the product in the market, they are selling this unit as an access point in the applications. You can run in the 2.4 or 5 spectrums frequencies, and also you can run on the different mode. There's IEEE standard. The highest speed we can do is right now is up to 1,300 megabit per second. Speaking of the access point router mode, is another common product in the market. A lot of router manufacturers nowadays they build in the access point capabilities like a 2-in-1 kind of package to provide the convenience of the user instead of buying the two products separately, like a router and an access point. WDS is a little bit special. So when WDS stands for Wide Area Distribution Service, it also comes in the 3 different modes. You can set it up as an access point, or client bridge, or just the stationary. Like a station means you don't have the extra relaying capabilities. So here's you can see that the diagram here is just like a one unit set up as a WDS access point, and the other two is also as an access point WDS, but the other two is not attached to the main network. So what it does is like a repeater. It just receives the signal from the source access point and then retransmit the signal locally. So it works exactly like a universal repeater, but instead of the client pitch access point relationship, they use the MAC address to do the handshaking, which is the more transparent, more direct, and more reliable. When you're speaking about WDS station means it's just a receive. It doesn't retransmit, so it's not a repeater. So WDS bridge, if you want to set up, for example, like a one-to-one or multiple point-to-point kind of a scenario, then WDS bridge is the best way to go because it doesn't transmit any Wi-Fi signal. It's just the basic layer on the WDS level to establish the linkage in between, like the radio link in between point A to point B or point to multi-point. One of the typical application is the camera. If you use the Wi-Fi cameras, this is the best operation mode to go. Repeater mode is in the very beginning, before we have WDS, before we have the advanced feature. Repeater is the most basic. It can retransmit any signal, any manufacturers. As long as you see the signals in the spectrum, you can retransmit the signals, but you have to know the Wi-Fi password, of course. So this is the first part of the presentations. Let me go to the second part of it. Just give me a second. Okay, on this part of the section, we talk about the two product lines basically. We start with the basic conventional. We call it the Electron. Electron is the most common in the market today, but the technology-wise is not as current as the other product line. We call it Neutron. We'll do the comparison at the end of this presentation to let you know the difference in between. The good thing about the smart, we always use these terms because we like it. The good thing about the smart is that we incorporate the what it calls the layer 2's functionalities in the switch and make the switches more manageable. It's more remote monitoringable and observing and the more configurations. In other words, it's easier to control from the network administrator standpoint. And also we introduced the web-based GUI, like the user interface is very straightforward. As long as you have a computer with a browser, no matter it's a Windows, Macintosh, or Android, as long as your browser can bring you to the internet, you can dial into the EnGenius network to do the management, either locally or remotely. Here's an example of the products that we have. You have to know the network address, of course, in order to log in with the administration password and the user ID. On the switch, we introduced the power over Ethernet because we consider the installation work sometime in somewhere you may not have the hydro power points available. So where you want to put the access point in, then the PoE is one of the option you can go for. Our switch is capable for both the IEEE 802.3 AT as well as the 802.3 AF. The difference is that the AT gives you more voltage. For example, if you're running a camera, the camera is like an outdoor camera with the heater control and also with the zoom, those advanced feature functions. Then you probably need the AT version, which gives you up to 30 watt consumption power. Other than the basic control, we give the network administrators the option of do the monitoring, like a port activities, port neutering, and the bandwidth control. We'll go through this in more details later. And QoS, it means quality of service is important as well. It's getting more and more demanding because of the voice and videos requirement in the Wi-Fi network these days. You know, when you're doing the video, is bandwidth, speed is the concern, because everybody going for the high resolution, like a 3 megapixel, even 4 megapixels, and also they want to do the zoom, and everything is count on the bandwidth of the network. So this has to be a guarantee. The video traffic with the bandwidth required. As far as the voice over internet is concerned, is one of the typical example is the roaming. Roaming means when you are talking on one access point and also driving in other directions. So that means you want to keep the conversation ongoing. You want to keep everything as smooth as possible. Then the roaming, the speed of roaming, like a switching from one access point to the other, we call the handoff time, is very important in order to provide the good voice qualities. Our layer 2 switch all compliant with the OSI, the Open System Interconnect. We use the layer 2 right now. They call it the data link layer, which is the give you the more controlled on the traffic flow, like the switchings, the packets, the transmissions with the error detections, and also everything is done by the MAC address. So in other words, it transmit more specifically, more directly, and of course faster, a lot faster than those switch without the layer 2. Okay, now we come down to the Neutron. Neutron is a little bit different from the Electron. Electron is, like I say, is the conventional, is the basic. The technology has been in the market for more than 2 decades. But when we come down to the newer generation of the networking, we introduced the Neutron. Neutron is more software orientated, and we build in the software on each of the switch. We call it the controller. On top of the switch functionality, like the Electron, we put in the controller. So if you look, I'll show you later on, to lock in one of the controller to show you the difference in between. So later, and if you look at the from the administration standpoint, there's a good things about the licensing and the subscriptions and the tech support fee. Everything is built into the price of the EnGenius. We don't charge licensing or subscriptions, as long as you know how to use the software. It's called EzMaster. It's kind of the very powerful standalone independent software, the management software. I'll show you later on with more details. If it's on a single location, it's easy. You just set up the switch with the basic connection with different switch, different area. Of course, they have the different access point cameras or voice over IP phone. When you come down to the multiple locations, you want to connect it to the network across the country. One is the West Coast, Los Angeles, and the others in the East Coast in New York. Then you need the piece of software called EzMaster. With the EzMaster, you can even go, around the world, like in Asia, in Europe, you can do that too. I'll show you more detail with the actual lock-in of the EzMaster at the end of the sections. This is the comparison between the Neutron and the Electrons. For the Electron, I'm not saying that this the technology is useless, but still it's good for basic conventional way of the networking, because you can tell a lot more feature than you can expect from the Electrons, which we don't usually use. We can use only maybe 50% of the feature and functions. But talking about the Neutron, even more. Neutron gives you all these, bell and whistles, unless you are, really looking for the what they call enterprise levels in networking. Otherwise, you don't need most of them. You just need, for example, the central management, the transmitting power adjustments, auto channels. It's more catered for you set up the network. Like you don't need to go to each of device to set it up. You can do in the central locations to do the programming, the setup, the change of channel or frequency or any parameters. Everything is done by a computer located in your place easily. Everything is on the fingertip, in other words. Okay, this is the end of the second section. So we are going to the last part of the presentation. I'm trying to log into the EzMaster. EzMaster is a software that we set up inside the company of the EnGenius. We have a number of locations around the world. So we set up this as a demo to show you how powerful and easy to use of the EzMaster. Remember, EzMaster is like a centralized, standalone controlling software to install in your computer, or as long as you have the internet access, you have the browser, you can just use your EzMaster to control either locally or remotely to any network or any branch office, either across the country or from around the world. This is the login page of the EzMaster. Okay, on the home page, and give you a very simple illustration of how the computers, because we require the minimum of the computers processing power, considering the amount of the network. You're talking about more than thousands of access points and unlimited number of the switch, either across the street or the country or the world. So your computer, for setting up the EzMaster, is important. So we require a certain specification. It gives you a very good summary, how much percentage of the CPU power is being used, the memory and the disk capacity. So if you look in the manual, it gives you the minimum requirement as well as the recommended specifications. So we have a number of offices set up here. And the whole project, we call it a project for some reason. I don't know why. We have 6 projects. Project means each of the locations. And then, and altogether, we manage 67 access points or any devices along the line, and give you the versions of the controllers and the master, the controller, and as well as the EzRegister. EzRegister is something like is provided by EnGenius. It's a cloud-based management. If you have a hard time to connect to any of the network, you can make use of the EnGenius to help to register the location of the components like the switch, the access point, whatever you have in your network locally. You can register to the EnGenius cloud. So make use of the EnGenius cloud. You can allow the remote access doing all the management functions. It's kind of option. If you don't, then you can still use the internet or the private line that you have inside your corporate office. So this is the home page. We go to the second one. We'll just pick one of the examples. Let's say the Holland office in Europe. Here's the access point they set up currently. If you look at the topology, we'll give you a better picture of the layout of the network we have right now out there in Netherlands, in Europe. So the local setup has 1, 2, 3, 4, have 5 switches, and then each switch has this component. Like this one has the 37 users currently. And some of them don't have any user. I think it's for demo purpose only. You can see the active users on that particular access point with the client names and whether they are the Apple's iPhone or or is the Android phone or Windows 7 or Windows 10 servers, whatever you have, they are all show up here if they hook up with the EnGenius access point. And the green means the unit is online. If it's the yellow, that means it's not ready for some reasons. You can show the port number, and also you can disable the port number. The port number is like when you hook up the switch, this switch is like a 24 ports, so it gives you the number of the port that the access point is hooked up with. And some of them with the camera here, like a EDS 5110 is the cameras. And also you can import the floor plan. Floor plan is like the office layout, your campus layout, whatever you have in your place. You can put this access point in place, in the diagrams, make it easier to visualize the location of each of the components. And you can customize your floor plan, like if you have the company floor plan, you can upload the floor plan and do it here. And also, if outside office, you can do the map, you can download from the Google and import the map. Then you have to give you the long range layout of the network if you want. Okay, this is the basic of the visualizations of the convenience of the EzMaster. And when you come down to the device management, it gives you the summary. Summary means we have the 6 managed access point in this, the Holland in Europe, this location particularly. And we have one switch. And here's this access point. We have one switch managed. And some of them are pending. You may wonder why we have some are not being used. For some reason, they may set it up as a spare or set it up as a, in the future expansion or something. So we still, put it in and hook it up, but it's not activated yet. So we call it the pending. You can set it up. You can add in any time if you want. We can also do the grouping. The convenience of the advantage of using the grouping is something like if you're running a company, for example, you have different departments, like a sales department, for example. They don't want the activities to be shared with the warehouse guy, and then you can set up the different groupings to manage a certain number of the access point that is to cater for sales activities only. You can do that. Yeah, it's just one of the examples. You can see that. You can put the members here. Like here's only one member, and if you're doing you can do the configuration too from this software. Like you can change the frequencies or set up the encryptions, the fast roaming for the voice over IP, the securities. Everything is on your fingertips. So it's a 5 gigahertz. And also you can set up the guest network if you have the requirement. The advanced setting is concerning the VLAN. VLAN is something to do with the guest network. When you set up the guest network, you want to create a partition in between the visitors and the internal staff. They use a number of ways of doing it. VLAN is one of the most typical way of doing the guest network. RSI is something to do with the roamings time and the switching in between the access points. Band steering is something to do with the like if you have both 2.4 and 5 gigahertz transmitting at the same time, then EnGenius is capable to find out whether the client device is capable for both spectrum or not. Let's say, for example, iPhone, starting from iPhone 5, iPhone 6, they are all both spectrum capable. So if EnGenius find out that this is iPhone 6 or iPhone 5 or iPhone 7, they will switch it to the 5 gigahertz automatically, which is a lot better utilization than the 2.4 currently in the market. So when we come down to other than the access point, the access control. Access control is like some of the user, they may not behave properly. Sometimes they occupy the network, maybe watch the movie or something. You can do a block or ban this user to access to the network, just like the what they call is the map filtering, or sometimes in those days. But now they call it the list, or the block list. Here's the active users on that Holland office locations, particularly. The rogue IP, those access points are not in place yet, but we have to keep an eye on it, because they may create the interfere to the network operations. So we just group it together and keep an eye out on the access points. When we come down to the statistics, we have a number of the diagrams to show. Basically, it gives you like the top 10 most active access point in the Holland, Europe locations. Like for example, I want to find out the lobby's access point activities, and then you just click that. It seems a little bit unreasonable in the lobby. Then in the middle of the night you have the people access, and 7 o'clock in the morning. This, I don't know why, but for this one it makes more sense, because during the office hour from 9 o'clock to 3 o'clock in the afternoon, where most of the activities in the office environment. We can also come down to a particular users if you want. For example, let's go back to the lobby and see what the guy's doing in the mornings. So we can tell this MAC address, this guy's access the network with 3 gigabytes of traffic flowing. Then you can tell he must be doing something unusual in the network. And also we provide a real-time throughput. Real-time throughput means if you want to monitor a particular access point, for example, the office number 3, to see if there's any ongoing traffic, or this access point is something that you want to chat with. You see, it takes a little while because it's the real-time recordings, and give you the data and send it over the network to your computer and represent it in the EzMaster. So, but this is the real-time thing. It's not the statistic. It's not the numbers. It's the actual, what's actually happening on that AP particularly. And also we have the captive portals. The captive portal is getting more popular for the business, like a McDonald's or Tim Hortons. When people walk in to buy the coffee, they want to stay for a little while, and then if they don't have the 3G data, they want to use the Wi-Fi. So we give them the convenience and create a portal. Portal is like you basically create a logo of your company, and with the terms of the conditions, and before the users log in, they accept terms, and also you could, if you don't like the layout of EnGenius, you could do your own redirect the user to a specific login page, and these are flexible and available. And also another application is about the pay the service. Sometimes for some reason they ask the customer to pay for the access. That you can do that too. But the accounting part is not done by the EnGenius. It's some other third-party software. So for the gas control, you can do that too, to give you the different password, the different descriptions on the gas axis. So about the maintenance, the maintenance is the major part of the administrator. So sometimes, for some reasons, you need to update the firmware of a particular model. So, for example, the EnGenius, the ENH1750 has the new firmware, which is critical, and all user has to be updated. Then sometimes it's difficult for the administrator. If I have 100 of them in the market, I mean, not in the company around the world, then it may be difficult to do that without using the EzMaster. You have to send the firmware to each of the location and ask the local IT guys to do the job for you. But with the EzMaster, you can do it on your own with just download the firmware here and then upload it to the group of the ENH1750 as you wish. So it's pretty much it covers everything as far as the EzMaster is concerned. And if you want to go the details, like for example, the summary, not the switch. I'm not sure if it showed you the switch here or not. Here's the switch, for example. When you hook up with the EzMaster, all the controller capability is disabled, supposedly, because the master will take over all of them. But if you want to maintain the local accessibilities and manageability, you can do that. You just go back in to these things to turn on the controller locally, and then you could do that on your own. But in most of cases, I would suggest disable the controller, leave the EzMaster to do the job. Sometimes not necessarily from the remote area. You can install the EzMaster locally to to interface to each of the switch and the network component as you wish. So it's not necessarily doing the remote sometimes. If you remember the diagram I showed you earlier. So that's the flexibility of the EnGenius, the Neutron's product, which is the kind of the most up-to-date technologies in the market, and a lot of other companies like D-Link, Linksys, Ubiquitys, they're all doing the same thing. But the EnGenius is more cater for the large scale. We claim we are trying to get into the industrial enterprise levels, so to speak. So this is pretty much about the EzMaster, and almost is the end of the presentations. So if you have any question, you can ask, because we have the Q&A like a five minutes or 10 minutes at this time, so to answer the questions. If you have any questions, please ask me.
Thank you very much, Guinness, for this. Yes, correct. People can actually chat, send their chat portion at that point. If you don't have a microphone, just let us know, and we'll try to open up your mic just to make sure we don't have feedback and all that. But otherwise, that's what we're trying to do. Or as we mentioned, just on the chat box, just basically write any of your questions at that point. So in the meantime, Guinness, I want to thank you for your time. Obviously, hope it was enlightening for some of the installer present actually here in the presentation. Again, just a reminder, this presentation will be actually onto our YouTube chain, so you can review this back. So I guess nothing. Thank you. Yes, it's a pleasure. So I guess Guinness, I thank you again for your time. I think we should be able to wrap it up then at that point. Seems to be no. Oh, let me see. How many connections on the outdoor unit?
Okay, that's a good question. For the switch, each switch can hook up with 50 maximums access point, but you can put up more switch, like stacking them up. So then you can multiply by 50 on each of the level of the switch. As far as the the total number of concern, I think the EzMaster can do talking about thousands. I think 2,000 something access point. As far as the switch is concerned, we have no limit on the switch.
We asked me, somebody sent me actually a question direct to me, was how many clients on an AP?
Well,
I guess that would depend. Yeah, that would depend on the APs, I guess, right?
It depends on the traffic, like the nature of the packet switching. For example, if you are doing a voice or video, then you don't have many users can do. But in general, I'll give you a number. Like for example, you're just doing the basic web browsings or doing emails or everything. I would say each of the access point can handle like 50 users, because we have two spectrums. So if you can equally spread the users in between the two spectrum, you can have like a 50 plus 50, about 100 users per unit of the access point in general.
Okay, that's a good that's a good clear answer. And there's some more questions from the group at that point. Let's see what we got. I guess we have none at this point in time, so I guess we can wrap it up. We said about 40-ish minutes. We're actually 2 minutes to that time frame. So Guinness, you're on par. I must say, will an AP reset if it locks?
Okay, if you're talking about resetting an AP, yeah, the EzMaster can do that. You can program it to do it like periodically, or you can do it manually to override the timer and do a reset. I would suggest if the unit's been running okay, then you don't need to worry about it. Only happens after maybe 3 years, 4 years down the road, when the the problem is adding up over time. Then I would suggest to maybe do a reset every 2 days, 3 days, or even on a daily basis if it does require that reset to be done that way.
Okay, so I guess we're good there. Perfect. I guess we're done. People said thank you, all the best. So I guess we're good. Okay, Guinness. Well, thank you very much for your time. We'll wrap it up now. So again, thank you, team, for being on board. I'm Alain Adjic from Global Distribution, back in Montreal. So and Guinness from EnGenius Canada in Toronto area. So again, thank you very much for your time, and we'll talk to you soon.
You're welcome, Alan.